Hello everyone and welcome to Tarot Tuesday and Tarot with Sahar. I brought some of my books to show you. These are the books that already came out, so you can find them from your favorite online store. Tarot, the Flower Tarot Pack is really one of my favorites because I love doing creative stuff. So this explains the tarot, the major arcana and the minor arcana in terms of flowers. And I really channeled every flower, tuning into it. What's nice about this is you get to make your own cards. So you color the flowers, you cut out the cardboard, and then you'll have your own tarot deck. And I want to draw your attention again that if you find the numbers swapped, although in this book they're not, but I still adhere to my justice being number 8 and strength being number 11. So it's not a printing mistake, it's really because of the numerology, which we'll get to as we continue with this series on the tarot. So to remind you, we're using the Rider Waite cards. Rider Waite Smith, I'd like to mention Smith, because she never really got credit for all her illustrations. I love the solid colors. They seem to trigger something within the brain because they're solid, so they're not imposing like pastel colors, any kind of mood or whatever it is. For me that works, but you know, you're welcome to use whatever deck you like. The meanings will still hold, but for me this deck tends to really work. And of course in this book we'll talk about tarot spreads, and I will go through with you on Tarot Tuesday. I will go through the 3-card spread. It's an easy spread that you can get a lot out of, and that's it about this book. So really lovely, makes a good present. Arcturus have done a great job. I love the cards, I love the colors in here. We started last video with this exercise to link both halves of the brain, so that will put you into alpha, and I explain about how to develop your psychic ability in this book. Really lovely with gold, gilded gold. And I do mention how the brain works, and I do mention the infinity exercise in here and some other exercises that can help you develop that wavelength that you need in order to expand your psychic potential. So lovely book, really simple to follow. And just as a tip, really, any information that goes into your brain goes through the 5 senses. So by starting to be more aware of what you are already sensing with your nose, with your mouth, with your hands, with your sight, with your eyes, with your ears, you are becoming more conscious of the data. And that makes you more perceptive or sensitive to receiving information psychically. Lovely book. It's also available on Audible. And you don't have to get this. I'll still go through the videos. We'll talk about stuff, but I really do explain into detail. Lovely little book. I really enjoyed writing it, and I hope you'll enjoy reading it. This one is my baby. The whole idea of emphasizing the journey of the Fool as you and me, as us going through. Oh, do you want to see my cat? This is my absolutely lovely friend Woozle. Woozle, say hi to everyone. I don't know, he just came and sat here. So he'll be joining us too. Very psychic cat indeed. So back to tarot for self-transformation, your journey to happiness mapped out. I hope that you'll find this book particularly useful and inspiring if you're going through a very difficult time in life, because you will understand that there is nothing personal. This journey is really your journey. But the way I feel about the tarot is, if you look at it from a distance, if you take yourself out of the picture and you look at the pictures that are in the cards, that distance gives you a good perspective. You're able to be objective, and the cards might trigger something that you didn't realize before about yourself, about your emotions, about your actions, all of these different levels of the psyche the tarot goes through. So today we're going to talk about the Fool, we're going to talk about the Magician, we're going to talk about the High Priestess, the Hierophant, the Emperor, and the Empress. I'm not going to talk about the Lover's card because that's almost like an upgrade to what's happening to the Fool. But generally, if you put the Fool card on the side and you lay out all the major cards in 3 rows, we can say that the first part of the journey, which is cards 1 to 7, is the making of the hero, because he goes through that journey. So it's all detailed here in Tarot for Self-Transformation. This book was a challenge, but I loved every minute of it. Again, gold gilded, really lovely book to hold. It's part of a series that Arcturus produces, and they haven't done a tarot book for a while, and I really put everything that I know in here, everything. The meanings of the cards, reversed, details of spreads, a lot of sample readings. Again, I'm using the Rider Waite Smith cards, and the history of the tarot in different traditions, what it means, how it developed. So if you're really an enthusiast, you can go to this book, especially if you're a seasoned card reader, and I'm sure you'll find it exciting. And let me just check about the Justice is 8. Excellent. So we didn't change the card number here, but it's 8, and Strength is 11. And once we get to the numerology, and incidentally there is also a book out on numerology. I haven't received author's copies yet, but it's wonderfully produced, and you can read all about the numbers, because every aspect, how your brain works, the psychic exercises that you can do, the meaning, the elemental, if you like, basic meaning of the cards, and then if you delve into more details, your brain, the brain does a process called chunking. So it puts chunks of informations together, and then it helps you arrive at the right meaning or interpretation, if you like. It kind of does that naturally. So that's a very good book to get into, and I just want to show you the numerology book. Handheld, pocket size, really lovely. And this is where I go into how the numbers and the vibration of the numbers were developed, so that you can work out your life path number. When you do a tarot reading, you can work out the meaning of the number. What does it mean? Of the spread, of the answer. What is the most prevalent card, and so on. Again, you see my Rider Waite Smith cards. I really love them, and I hope you'll get to try them out if you're not used to them, or if you don't normally use them, and see how you feel. So you'll get to understand the tarot in every possible way. You'll learn about energy and healing, and how energy travels, and how we're all connected, which is why the tarot also works. A lot of people find it funny, like you just pick up a few cards and that's it, your future is there. It's not as, well, it can be as simple as that really, but it's because of energy, because of everything that exists in the universe is quite connected through this vibration. So you tend to resonate around the cards that mean something to you at this point in time. So don't forget this exercise. Start with this exercise. I hope you'll get your pen and paper ready, or notes, or you can pause this video and play it once you're ready. But this is what we're going to go through, and Wuzzle is going to stay with us. Hello, Wuzzle. So we're going to go through the first few cards so that you can understand how the journey started. So I'm going to lay the Fool. Obviously, I've been using the cards for readings, but we're going to do 1. That's 3, that's 2, 4, and 5. We'll leave 6 for later, but I'll just put it here just in case. So the Fool. Now, a very good way when you start with the tarot, particularly if you're new to the tarot, is to really start without any preconceived ideas. And this is a great place to start, because you can, I'm sure you will receive new information that you maybe would not have received if you come in with a preconceived idea of what the cards mean. So it's always a good idea to leave what you know outside the door and start anew. What I ask my students when I do a workshop is to just group the cards any way they want to without saying anything. And it's interesting, you might notice wings of angels in different cards. You might notice the red cards and put them all together. I suggest you do that exercise. So pause the video, do that exercise just for you to get to know the major cards a lot better. The reason I've put them in this order is this appears to be like an out-of-world card because it's the High Priestess. So we start with the Fool, who starts on his journey. Excuse me, let me have my sip of tea. I hope you have your tea or your coffee. Totally courageous, the Fool, really fierce. He just jumps into the unknown with very prepared in a very small way, the essentials, but he's got the feather of wisdom, which might change color later on, you will see. And he's ready to go on and discover the world. This is him as he starts on his journey. He learns, he's older here, he learns, he's got the spiritual white robes, he's got the vitality robe in red, he's got the infinity sign, and infinity keeps reinventing itself, or the action of infinity is knowledge, potential, talents, abilities are really infinite. And by practicing and studying and working on yourself, I don't mean studying like academically, but you know, getting to know new things and learning new things, you'll be able to expand that potential infinitely. So here he's older, he's got the elements, which are the 4 suits of the minor cards. So he's got the wands, the swords, the cups, and the pentacles. We'll talk about more in details later on. But these are the elements, meaning he could do anything. He could be an artist, he could be an architect, he could be a financier, he could be a banker, anything really. So the elements are there. And however way you combine these elements, maybe there'll be seasons, at times he'll be this, at times, other times he'll use that skill, whatever it is, he's got the elements and he can transfer or transmute inspiration, again white is for spirit, all the way down into making it manifest. So we've got horizontal expansion, we've also got how energy transfers or moves down. Very often when I am teaching, I'll use the infinity this way. And I'll say, like with the number 8, when you are in meditation, you send the information up, you ask whatever you believe in, your guides, your higher self, and literally information comes down. So whether it's this way or that way, you never really go through the same experience twice. If you can imagine this as 3D, every time you might have similar experiences, but it's always on a different stage of development. So the theme might be similar, but all the details and what's involved and what you learn from it will keep changing until you're done, you've extracted the wisdom, and then whoop, you move up to a different level. So very interesting sign. The number 8 is very interesting. It also hints at karma. And all of that, the tarot can trigger all of that within you. So do remember, reading the tarot is 30% knowledge of the cards, 30% or a third of it is your psychic ability, being more mindful, developing, doing the exercises. And what really makes a difference is you, the Fool, how willing you are to learn new things, to practice, to delve or develop in a holistic way. Totally important. So how can you do that? One part is knowledge of the cards, which we're doing here in this series of Tarot Tuesday, Tarot with Sahar. So we're going to go through the cards, and you can always interpret them on different levels. But personally, for you. You can keep a journal of your readings, keep your own notes, record your experiences, and my advice to you is practice, practice, practice. I practiced like crazy. I was so impassioned and passionate about the tarot that I really practiced every day. Another way is, before I delve into the more meaning of the magician is like the alchemist. He's got the elements of the alchemy and he can create everything, anything. Notice the Ouroboros, the snake, you know, that like the belt that goes around, that stands for a lot of things, but mainly wisdom. So again, it's not going around the same thing, it's transmuting that experience, again, that infinity. But a good way to get to know the cards is take one card a day, for example, meditate on it, leave it in front of you, see what words come to your mind, what do you notice every time, why are the roses there, why are the lilies here, and what does this movement mean? And if you know about Sufism, for example, the whirling dervishes, when they dance, they make that move too. It's like they bring the essence from spirit and then it manifests physically. So very important, the magician. This highlights our potential, that we could do anything. Very often we box ourselves in. We see ourselves as a job title and we stop expanding and developing in other areas. So the magician is a reminder that you need to keep reinventing yourself, because the ability or the potential is infinite, absolutely infinite. Okay. So, okay, that's better. Now, next are the two earthly parents, if you like, of the Fool. Is this straight? I hope it is. Okay, the two parents of the Fool. This is his earthly mother, if you like. Now he's the magician, he's older, as we said. So when you see this card in a spread, for example, it could stand for somebody who's slightly older than the Fool, more developed, a little bit of experience, maybe working, since he's got the elements. But the two parents, lush, good background. Good background, I don't mean that in a personal way. It could be good background in terms of, again, abilities, potential, because we see the lush forest, the garden, we see the element of water flowing, we see the stone, which stands for a solid foundation, that you're able, that you come with a lot of potential, again, and the robes and the stars on her head, all of that means something, and the authority with the scepter that she holds in her hands, the potential to give birth to new ideas, creativity. It's always growing in that garden, and it's green, and the water is there to water all these plants. We can also see a hint of seasons. This could be the autumn or the season of harvest. So this also relates to the cycles of life. And for now, there's so many more meanings, but for now, I want you to notice such things. I want you to notice the four elements, how often they exist, where do they come out. Notice the background of the card. The yellow stimulates the intellect. It's about new beginnings, new ideas, communication, expressing them. Trust yourself, have the ability. It's about fertility. Things will grow, whether a project or a child or wanting children. The mother is the nurturing, the wisdom on her head. You'll see the stars again so many times in the tarot. Very important for inspiration. Remember the figure 8. Work with spirit. Work when you are inspired, or to be inspired, always ask, meditate on something, tune in, see what information you get down, and that way you'll stay into alignment. So the Emperor card, you can see that he's older. He's got the white beard, so he's been through some experiences. He's more aware, more developed. He's got one hand holding the sign of authority, kinship, again, the scepter. One foot is pointing straight, one foot is at an angle. Notice that. You'll see a lot of that in the tarot cards. And the ram's head, again, standing for wisdom, maybe change of seasons. Again, there's the water element here. You can bring also the cape that he's putting, or the shawl, which is important. Again, red, virility, authority, leadership, and that's why his throne is stable. So these are the two worldly parents. Another way of remembering what the cards are is to look at the next two figures. So these are earthly, these are spiritual. So you might say or think of these as the spiritual parents of the Fool. So here we see the whole family. The spiritual parents of the Fool, whereas the Empress is very much straightforward or bold. The High Priestess is more, not demure, but it's a more subtlety, more subtle feeling. Yeah. Okay, let me try and bring that up so you can see. There we are. So the Empress is more subtle. There's a veil behind her. Here we see the whole landscape behind the Empress, whereas in the High Priestess, there's hidden knowledge. Notice the two pillars. This is another theme that continuously comes up, not continuously, but it comes up quite often in the tarot. Again, could be about balance, if you like. See what you get. The cycles of the moon. We see the full moon, the crescent, the moon, the last cycle of the moon. That means something. The flowing robes look quite watery or fluid. So flexibility, trusting intuition. The pomegranates, again, could be fertility. Just notice these symbols and meditate on them, and you'll get more information. The High Priest, we notice the layers of, I don't know, shall we call it wisdom on his head? Again, he's holding a scepter of sword, meaning the authority of his spiritual knowledge, because his hands are pointing up. Notice the balance between the two and the crossed keys. Notice the feet kind of going sideways like the Emperor. Here we don't even see her feet, the Empress's feet, but we do see one of the High Priestess. I mean, we don't see her feet, but with the Empress we see 1 foot. All of that has meanings. But for now, I want you to remember that here we are. We start with the Fool, who's very excited, good weather, good intentions, and he has to have experiences. Why? So he can develop the skills that are required for him to achieve his fullest potential. And learning lessons is important because it allows not only our personality to be formed, but for wisdom, knowledge to expand. Background is very important. It gives you the impetus, if you will, to carry on with your journey, and what he can develop into if you're reading for a male, what she can develop into if you're reading for a woman. If you see this card, so she's older, she's a mother figure. If you see this card when you're doing a reading, again, older, an authority figure, someone that you can trust, that advise, that they're experienced or an expert at what they do. And if you see these two cards, then you're dealing with a female, a woman who's intuitive, developing, who's affected by the moon, the cycles of the moon. If you see the card upside down, again, that could be the negative aspect of the High Priestess, or someone who cannot sleep or not sleeping enough. They've got nervous energy, because very sensitive, the High Priestess, believe me. And the High Priest, it's almost the oracle for me. I love this card. I always feel good when I see this card in a spread for a client, because it tells me they're right on track. So I call that the destiny card. So if I see it, then I know somebody is on the right track. Of course, there are combination of the cards when you see them in a spread, and sometimes that could indicate marriage, particularly if it comes up with Justice and with the Lovers. But I think the constellation of which cards appear with which cards, that probably deserve another video much later on once we go through these. So earthly parents, spiritual parents, an older self, more experienced self. It's important to stay open in order to attract the experiences so the wisdom can grow. There is an earthly aspect, there's a spiritual aspect. Balance is important. The foundation where we start from is terribly important as well. And one of the first lessons that the Fool goes through is making his own choice. So this is when we enter the world of duality. So he can't rely on these parents alone. He needs to make his own decisions, and this is, if you like, one of the first tests that he goes through as he meets the partner, and he's got to decide. The lovers can also be about learning to have balance, because life can seem to be full of obstacles, but way back in the horizon, this is the top of the mountain that they want to get to. And they must work together. They must collaborate together. You must find the balance. They're guided by this angel or spirit or divine, or the divine, if you will. And again, we see the seasons. And if they collaborate, if they have a good relationship, then they will reach whatever seems to be surmountable at the beginning of the journey. So it's about collaboration. It's about making your own decision. It's about partnership, whether romantic or business. And that is one of the first trials that the naive fool who jumps furiously into experiences, he is learning about balancing emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and making his own decisions as a sign that he has grown into the magician and capable of facing life and all the rich experiences that it will bring. I hope you found this useful. I'll leave the links to the books if you want more information, and I will see you next Tuesday. And for now, I'm going to shuffle the cards, clear them by intention, and as I told you last time, that's how I keep them. I always start with the major cards and then I go into the minor cards, and it's important to give yourself as much as information as you can from these lovely, lovely, wonderful cards. I'll see you next Tuesday, and take care for now. So you can't sit here.